Here is show how to release two climbers from a loaded auto-blocking belay device. This is a pretty good skill to learn because if you do start to climb with two climbers at the same time and you're belaying them both, if you needed to release one, you need to know how to do that. It's also, if you're interested in furthering like your climbing career, like getting into guiding, if you do the rock rescue drill, this is the beginning of the rock rescue drill. Which is a pretty key component to passing your rock guide exam with the American Mountain Guides Association. So first here, I'm climbing in parallel here, which means I have two climbers coming up as opposed to just one climber at a time. We call that caterpillar. So when we climb or lead multi-pitch in parallel, where I'm going to belay two climbers at the same time, I'm going to have two ropes with me. So in this case, I have a purple rope that I'm just tied in with the figure 8. Retraced through my two hard points, and on my green rope here I just have a figure 8 on a bite clipped to my waist belt with a locking carabiner. I could also tie in just directly with a retraced figure 8, but the advantage to doing this is I can pretty easily take this off and move it, or if I get a twist in there, so that's why I've done that. So I wanted to show you that first so you just understand how I'm setting this up, and then here I can actually clove hitch into both ropes. So that's how I would be started here. And now I'm going to have two ropes that I'm belaying two climbers up. I think I mentioned this in another little video where I can tuck this back, which is a nice way to keep that rope out of the way. I'll tuck that back, pull in the rope for my two climbers. And here I'm using my quad, so I'm going to be on one strand. I'll have them on the other two strands. And there we go. Okay, so now, girls, go ahead and climb in. Okay, so here's my climbers. You can go ahead and just stand right there. That's okay. We'll just say you're weighting it. I'll pull it up nice and tight. You can just kind of lean back on it, okay? So first, in the real world scenario, go ahead and stand up though. You don't need to swing. In a real world scenario, this happens sometimes where you're belaying two people up and somebody decides they want to go down. Or maybe they need to go down. They dropped something, they forgot something, whatever it might be. So one thing I could do here is I could just put a good cat knot, a good catastrophe knot in on the rope for the climber that does want to keep climbing. So if Sayla wants to keep climbing here on the purple rope, I could just cat knot her. And if Sunny wants to go down, I could then use that trick where you put the sling in the hole, you redirect the brake strand, and I could lower Sunny because of the cat knot. That cat knot's going to bump into the device. Sayla's going to stay here, but I could lower Sunny. So I could do that process. We showed how to do a technical lower of that loaded auto blocking belay device using that sling in the hole. So I could do that and keep Sayla here. But here, we're going to show how to get both climbers out. So here, and this is how the rock rescue drill starts. So we always put cat knots in. And what I want to do here is I want to do two load transfers. I'm going to transfer the load from this device with the two climbers and do a load transfer for Sayla's rope on the purple and Sunny's on the green. So, as we already saw in a previous lesson, I'm going to tie Clem Heist. Sayla, will you just stand up a little bit there? Thanks. With my cordelette. Sure that's going to hold, and then I'm going to build this on this. I'm going to use this. I'm going to build this on the anchor. Hey girl, stop swinging. Okay.
Sunny, please stop.
So here I'm going to build a munter on the anchor. Okay, I'm going to mule it, and remember I can do an overhand here, or I can just pass the tails through to close it. I can slide that Clem Heist down, and now I've got one load transfer system set up, but now I need to do something for the other rope. Now, I could use another cordelette. So if I carry a second cordelette, there's one option right there. I could use a quad length sling. That's one option. I could also use my friction hitch, okay? And I could put a friction hitch on here and then get this as close to the device as possible, and then maybe use a double length sling. Preferably a skinny one's going to work better. In this case, I'm going to use that quad length sling. I personally typically carry one cordelette and one quad length sling. Sometimes I will carry two cordelettes if I think I'm going to be replacing cordette anchors and things like that, or so it definitely happens where I carry two cordelettes, but I always, if anything, carry one cord and one quad length sling. And the quad length slings, I think I mentioned earlier, pretty handy. They're really compact. They work really well for doing things like this, for building anchors. Got a lot of versatility. They're just a little bit more expensive, so you don't really want to have to cut this and leave it at an anchor. I'm going to use a different carabiner here, different colored carabiner, to show where Sunny's is. Okay, and so same thing here. I'm going to build this munter. Oops, can't quite get that clipped. I'm going to build that munter on there, on that carabiner. I'm going to mule it. And this quad length sling is actually really long, so I'm just going to overhand it to close it and have it done. Okay, now slide those clem heists down so they're ready to catch. Okay, and here what I might do is I might just back up my cat knots, make sure I have enough room to give slack when I release this. So as I do this, I'm definitely going to want to have a cat knot in behind that blade device, because if for some reason my friction hitch here doesn't hold, stop swinging, okay? Just stand and weight the rope, okay? But hold the rope tight. Here, holding the rope with both hands, now I'm just going to start to wiggle or ratchet or rock that carabiner. And it's starting to get loose there, and now the girls' load is on these slings there. So great, that's what I was trying to get done. Okay, now I'm not quite done yet because I need to finish this load transfer. And so I have a couple different options for how I do this. And so I often like to build these munter mules behind the device and just leave the device in while I'm doing it. It just feels like a nice backup should this friction hitch suddenly slide. So here I'm going to tie that munter. I've been tying munters in all kinds of different ways, just kind of like, because, you know, why not? All right, and then I need another locking carabiner here. Stop swinging. Okay. I'm not worried about taking the cat knots out now because I've got a device behind the friction hitch. I feel pretty good about using that. Now, okay, I'm just going to put a hand here, wrap a hand here with those. Take my device out. Okay, I built munters behind the device, so now I can take the device out. My friction hitches are holding well. That's good. Okay, and now I need to belay that slack up to get that tight, but then I need to roll them, right? Okay, so here, I'm going to milk this up. Okay, roll it so it's in that loaded position, milk it up. I'm doing Sunny's rope, this green rope here first, just because it's closest to me. Muncher mule overhand it. Okay, now with Selah's rope, I need to roll hers. Okay, and so it's in the loaded position. A little twist there. bulk it up. Here, Sonny, will you just stand right here and don't try not to swing too much? Okay, so will you stand kind of there just so they can see this better? And now I'm going to muncher mule this. So I got the muncher, mule it behind there and overhand it. So now I've got those muncher mule overhands built behind. And go ahead and weight that, Sonny. I've got it built behind my muncher mules here. So now I can release this muncher mule with Sonny's. I'm going to transfer her load. It's on that sling onto that rope where I've got it muncher muled overhand. I can take my climb heist off here. Okay. Often I'll wear like jackets and stuff and just shove things in if I got a zipper, but t-shirt works as well. And now with sailor's rope, I'm going to do the same thing. Release that muncher mule. Okay, great. Take off that climb heist. And now, I don't want to whip you in the face with this because that's often what happens when people pull those climb heists off the rope. Now, I have gotten both of the girls to baseline, and now I can proceed with whatever I want to do. Like maybe I need to lower one of the girls, maybe I need to lower them both, maybe I'm gonna haul one up. In the rock rescue drill, the way it works is one of the climbers gets lowered to the ground, the one that's uninjured, and the other climber is considered injured, and you have to rappel to them, give them some aid, put a chest harness on them, and then you come back up and you haul them up, and then you end up lowering them later and doing like a counterbalance rappel and then a tandem rappel. We're going to add those pieces later in other lessons, but that's how you get to that baseline, going from that loaded belay plate with two climbers on there and getting them to baseline. So it's a series of load transfers, making sure you have those backups in place, good friction hitches, and there you go.